What's going on? Welcome to Goal Line Hockey Live. For the first time in Goal Line Hockey history, playoff hockey here on our live stream. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the stream. A lot of things to get into today. Of course, our two featured games, the Islanders and the Hurricanes down in Carolina, and the Bruins and the Florida Panthers up into the Dallas, Minnesota game. There's a lot to talk about in that series. That's drawn a lot of attention. I'm sure Urban is in here. What's going on, Urban? He's got his thoughts on the series so far. So we're going to go over all of that stuff. So let's get right into it. So in terms of just overall NHL stuff, we knew that the Anaheim Ducks would get the 32nd overall pick. They have the best odds at Connor Bedard in terms of the front on the Anaheim Ducks. In terms of coach firings, there was a couple around the league. Brad Larson of the Columbus Blue Jackets no longer will be head coach of the Jackets. I think that was more of a, they're not really going in the right direction sort of ordeal. And I think they want to change the culture up a little bit there in Columbus. So Jarmo Kekalainen and the Blue Jackets will have a new head coach going into next season. The Washington Capitals mutually parted ways with Peter Laviolette. Make sure to check out that video. I already posted that one. Laviolette, it seemed like more of a philosophy thing. I think the Capitals are going into a retool. That's kind of the mindset I got from the firing or the mutually parting ways. He did not play a lot of the younger guys, so maybe expect to see a little bit more of the youth movement in Washington next season. Guys like Connor McMichael, Hendricks Lapierre, Alexei Protas, as well as guys like Alexander Alexiev, who we saw a little bit as well. So the Capitals will be getting a little bit younger. I believe there was another. Oh yeah, the blow up in Pittsburgh. Made an entire video on that. That'll be coming out tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. Pittsburgh Penguins blew everything up. They did not fire their head coach. There was some questions about Mike Sullivan. He's staying behind the bench, at least for now, in Pittsburgh. Brian Burke, president of hockey operations, assistant general manager Chris Pryor, and general manager Ron Hextall all let go in Pittsburgh. A ton of turmoil in Pittsburgh. A very healthy season for guys like Malkin and Crosby and Letang. Successful seasons for all three of those guys, but everybody else was a passenger in Pittsburgh. A huge reason why the Penguins missed the postseason this year, and a slew of firings in Pittsburgh. So we'll see what happens there. As we get into the playoffs, a couple of really good series so far. Guys, what's going on in Toronto? I think that was the big storyline last night. A 7-3 football game up in Toronto, and not a good one for the Leafs. They lose 7-3 in Toronto at home. A really dejecting loss. We've gotten an even more of an update as now Michael Bunting, who had that questionable hit in game 1, will be out for games 2, 3, and 4. He has a three-game suspension for that questionable hit during the game. But Tampa Bay has a couple of interesting points in this series for themselves. Isamont, I think is his name, got hurt during that game. Eric Chernak, as well as Victor Hedman. All three of those guys left the game in that series. Some questions about lineup changes. We saw a third line, pretty big changes in Toronto. I know you guys are going to like that. In terms of the Boston Bruins and the Florida Panthers, yes, Luis was in the chat. What's going on, Luis? Lead for the Florida Panthers. Last time I checked, the Bruins do have the 1-0 series lead, though. They were pretty good in game 1. They looked a little jittery in the first half and kind of took over in the second half of that game. Really solid performance for the Bruins. And Alex Lyon gave them a chance in that game. So that's something to watch for throughout this series. And again, Patrice Bergeron has separated, and he'd probably still find a way to be in this series. So a real interesting situation there. Bergeron has been skating, which is good news, but probably still another week away because he has not been skating with the team since the injury. So there is still a lot of questions about the health and how quickly Bergeron comes back into the lineup for the Bruins. The Rangers and Devils played game 1 last night. Really good performance for the Rangers. Kind of how I expected things to go, honestly. The only goal, Hughes, a semi breakaway turned into a penalty shot late in the third period. And it was as good of a game in terms of, I saw from the game a couple weeks ago when I went to the Rock, a ton of Ranger fans in there. Along the obviously the Islanders and the Hurricanes game, um, a good start for Carolina, kind of the way I expected it to. A couple of interesting calls by the referees, absolutely, especially on that Pollock penalty that ultimately led up to the game-winning goal. But the Islanders can't score on the power play. They have 4 power plays. I think a lot of people out there will say it was a little bit off-putting, and Pavelski didn't look really ready for that hit. It was within the time frame of being a safe hit, so no harm. He's been laying those kind of hits all season, last season. So this is nothing new from Matt Dumba. I do question though, will the Minnesota Wild sort of attack him going in, or will the Dallas Stars kind of attack him going throughout the rest of this series? So that's going to be a really good game too. That's tonight. Who else am I missing? Oh, the Seattle Kraken win their first ever playoff game in their first playoff series against the defending Stanley Cup champion Colorado Avalanche. A stunner there in Colorado as Philip Grubauer. Shout out to Grubauer, Colorado, as Philip Grubauer. Shout out to Grubauer, played really well, and a huge, huge win for the Kraken. As now I can only imagine that game 3 in Seattle. That is going to be a crazy environment. Really, really looking forward to that one. So we'll see what happens there. And who else am I forgetting? Oh, LA and Edmonton. A lot of pissed off Oilers fans after game 1 as the Kings find a way to get it done in overtime. And the Kings are a tough, pesky team. I said that going into the series. I picked Edmonton to win this thing in 7, but damn, give credit to Edmonton. Like, this is a team that I still, after one game, really not sure what's going to happen in this series. Both of these teams, Edmonton and LA, I'm telling you, goaltending is going to make a difference. And I do worry about Edmonton's goaltending. I'm just not sold on who they've got there. Whether it's whoever they put in, Stuart Skinner or Jack Campbell. I'm just not sold yet on the Oilers goaltending. Their defense looks better. They're scoring goals, but Connor McDavid held to 0 points in game 1. And for Todd McClellan and the Kings, that's a win. And they're going to probably look to try and do that as many times as they can throughout the series. So what else do I have to get to? Who did I forget? I don't think I forgot anybody. You guys can let me know down below. Welcome to the chat, guys. Urban, what's going on? Luis, PJ, Surreal, what's going on, all of you guys? Yeah, really, really good start here for everybody. Glad you guys could join us here for our first ever playoff live stream. Vegas and Winnipeg, yeah. Thank you, Surreal. So really interesting start in that series because honestly, I expect Vegas to take care of this one in 6. I'm not so sold on that now. This is a Rick Bowness team in Winnipeg. And the less passengers there are in Winnipeg, quote unquote, the Jets, the sky is the limit for the Winnipeg Jets. I got to be honest. I think this is a really good team. And what they did in game 1 against Vegas, they kind of out Vegas. Vegas, really good start to the series there for the Jets. They're another team like Seattle going home to that game 3. I'm really looking forward to that later this week. And Connor Hellebuck, listen, if they can score 2 or 3 goals a game, Winnipeg has a real chance because Hellebuck is not going to give up many goals this year. I'm really interested to see what ends up happening there. So let me know what you guys want to talk about. Yeah, that Morgan Barron thing was sick. That was insane. He took a pretty good shot to the face and came to his defense. Shout out to Chandler Stevenson, but damn, that was a pretty good cut there for Morgan Barron. What's going on, Ali Dush? Welcome to the chat. What's going on, guys? Horvat left the game. I did not see that. Wow. Welcome to the chat, Ali Dutch, PJ. What's going on, guys? Yeah. I got to say, I'm eating salmon and smiley face french fries. The goat right here. Absolutely incredible. In terms of, Horvat, um, I'm kind of interested to see what happens with a couple of these teams. Like, how does Dallas come back after, a game had in their hands? I think in terms of losing Pavelski, I mean, obviously any team is better with Joe Pavelski in the lineup, and if Shaka ever shows up, he would say the same. But I have to say that the Dallas Stars center depth, especially with Tyler Seguin, maybe makes that blow a lot less. And it didn't seem like they were really that off put despite losing a guy like Pavelski in their lineup. But again, you're going to need to see more from some of the younger guys in Dallas, like a Wyatt Johnston and Jason Robertson and Sagan and Ben. Those guys got to get depth scoring by committee. That's true, Urban. Yeah, and I said this: Dean Evanson teams come playoff time. We saw that last year. They got knocked out, but they are a hard out. The Minnesota Wild, and now they're bigger and more experienced than they were even last year. And Philip Gustafson is playing really good as a goalie. If he can outduel Ottinger in this series, this could be a bloodbath for the Dallas Stars. I'm just saying, this could be really rough for them. What's going on, Don? Welcome to the chat. Yeah, I think this is going to be really interesting in terms of the matchup between Philip Gustafson and Jake Ottinger the rest of this series, because I think Dallas is in a lot. I got to be honest, Don, we're doing both games. I am watching the Islanders Hurricanes game right now, and then once this game ends, let's see if the Islanders have enough left in the tank. 2-0 once again for Carolina. The Islanders find a way to come back. It's 2-2. Better start than they did last game. And I don't want to jinx it. If the Islanders lose tonight, this would be the first time that I'm live streaming for an Islanders game that they lost. So we'll see what happens here. So let's streamed in a little while. Now we're having all these issues. All right, guys. I'm going to give it another 5 minutes if it doesn't pick up. But if not, we'll see what happens here. I'll give it a couple more minutes. I apologize, guys. Yeah, try and Fruit Loops or Reese's Puffs. Oh, I'm going Reese's Puffs all the way. I'm a peanut butter guy. That's not even close. It keeps freezing. Yeah, like I said, I'm going to try and hold out for a couple more minutes. I'll see what happens. If it keeps freezing, let me know. I might have to restart the stream. We'll see what happens. Just give me an update, guys, if you can. So the good news for the Islanders, Horvat, number 14, is back on the ice. So we'll see if the Islanders can find a way to kind of clog this one out, Stream, I'm definitely watching that over ESPN. It ain't close, Don. Absolutely. MSG is better than ESPN. Yes, freaking sir. That's right. Louise said, if the Panthers win this series against Boston, you got to convert to a lifelong Panther fan. I don't know about that, Luis. I don't know. The Islanders have had their dust ups with the Panthers, so I ain't taking the Panthers yet, man. It's one of those things it is what it is, I think at the end of the day, alone goaltending is going to be a huge difference. I don't think Vanacek is that good. I like him. He's a former Hershey guy. I really want I really want him to have a good career, but Vanacek down the stretch a couple times and happened and against Shesterkin, in peak form, Shesterkin is unstoppable.